Cappuccilli?
That's right.
Hey, I did it pretty well for the first time. You and I have something in common.
What is that?
We've gone up Mount Washington, but I've never done it the way you did it, and in the weather conditions that you did it, because I happened to be up in New Hampshire the weekend. Let's see, you went up, when did you go up Mount Washington?
On the 13th.
On the 13th. Well, we were skiing up there, not too far from you, but the conditions where we were a lot easier to deal with, because we had little sticks on our feet. You had a couple of baskets on your feet, and what were you doing?
We were climbing Mount Washington with a team of sled dogs. A friend of mine, Carl Brown from Bartlett, who runs Keewatin Kennels with Cynthia Eliason, wanted to ascend Mount Washington for the first time in 60 years with a team of sled dogs, and he asked me if I would go along with him.
And you said yes. I mean, a guy just called up and says you want to go up Mount Washington and snow up to Union, and you said yes, right?
Well, I said yes, and then I said, we'll talk about it in a couple of days, and if you're really serious about it, then we'll talk a little further. And he did, and then I told him about my kidney condition, and would he like to try and do that in coordination with an effort to raise awareness about organ donors.
All right, first of all, Peter, why don't you tell our audience, this is something that, while we have something in common, this is one thing we don't have in common, and that is you have someone else's kidney.
That's true. I have my sister's kidney that I received in 1984. I had another transplant that rejected in 1976 from my brother Michael. Since then, everything has gone pretty well, outside of the fact that I've had 4 hip replacements in the process due to side effects from the medications. But outside of that, everything has been going very well.
That's all hunky-dory. For any one of those incidents, either the kidney transplants or a hip replacement for any of us would be a major event that would probably keep us down a little bit. That didn't seem to work with you. I can say that climbing Mount Washington is not exactly a stroll in the park, and in the conditions under which you did it, you were wearing what on your feet? Snowshoes?
Well, at the time, really, for about the first 7 miles of the climb, it really went without a hitch. But when we approached the top, the winds were reaching 75, 80 miles an hour, and the wind chill was down around 50 below. And the ice conditions required that we put on crampons and ice equipment.
All right, crampons, those are those big spikes.
That's right.
Yeah. Because if you don't have them, you become airborne.
Oh, just about at that point. Near the observatory, it almost happened a couple of times.
I've been up there in blizzards on a couple of instances. As a matter of fact, we climbed once as early as the middle of September and had to take the train down because we were just wiped out in the blizzard. So the weather on top of Mount Washington is considered to be the worst in the world. Now, why did you accept? You started to explain that one of the reasons why you accepted it was to help the Kidney Foundation. Were you trying to prove a point that just because you've had a kidney transplant that that's not the end of the world?
Definitely. The message has got to be that people have to realize that disabilities are not necessarily handicaps. And the other focus has to be that if I hadn't received a kidney, the quality of life or even the possibility for me to do that would not have existed. But there are a lot of people who believe that once you are disabled, that you are disabled physically, you are disabled mentally, and that really you become outside of society. You live on a margin. And that is not the case. And if they would just give us a little more of a chance, they would see that sometimes we have to do things differently, Mo. We do things, we have to redefine the way we do things, but we still come up with the same result.
Well, on a man-to-man basis, my friend, I take my hat off to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Dr. David Uburn is joining us, also president of the Kidney Foundation. Doctor, good afternoon. Welcome to WHJJ.
Hello.
Listening to Peter, is Peter a terribly unusual set of circumstances here? Or is a person who has had a kidney transplant someone who can resume a normal life? Not that climbing Mount Washington is anything near a normal life.
I would say most of our transplants don't climb Mount Washington, but Peter does exemplify what happens with kidney transplantation. It is truly a rebirth, and I'm sure Peter would agree with that. It's a true rebirth for people who have kidney disease. Kidney disease is such a devastating disease, and transplants, in general, return a person to normal kidney function. And although there are complications of the medications that people have to take, their life becomes once again whole. And what Peter has done is has shown people that a person who has had kidney failure, has had 2 transplants, has had multiple operations, can do things that everybody else can do and can do them probably better than some people.
Well, I'll tell you what, he did Mount Washington far better than I can do it.
Probably me too.
Now, yeah, I know this is going to sound like a stupid question, but I suspect it's not, because I think most of us take our kidneys for granted. As a matter of fact, I would bet the overwhelming majority of us couldn't even tell you exactly where our kidneys are.
Mm-hmm.
What is the function of the kidney?
Well, kidneys are very, very unique and interesting organs. Their primary function is to remove the waste products that we make each day from metabolizing, breaking down protein and breaking down sugars. Remove those from the body so that they don't build up in levels. It's the buildup of those levels that make people sick with kidney disease. In addition, the kidneys not only get rid of these waste products, but they get rid of extra salt and water that people take in every day with their food. And the kidneys are very important in preventing anemia. They secrete a hormone that prevents anemia. So people who have kidney failure suffer many of the complications of the lack of those functions we just talked about.
All right, so the kidneys, then needless to say, is something that we couldn't live without. I know we can live without a part of our lung and things of this nature, but a kidney is not in that category.
That is quite correct. The people who have lost kidney function generally require dialysis. It is quite amazing, however, how much kidney function a person can lose before they require dialysis. Kidneys are remarkable organs, and you can lose up to 90% of your kidney function in both kidneys before a person requires dialysis. So it's really remarkable how people can do.
Dialysis
Is the artificial kidney treatment.
is the artificial kidney. In other words, it does what the kidneys would have done. It removes certain waste products from the bloodstream.
That's right. It provides part of the function that the kidneys do. It is not a complete replacement, and that is why often people on dialysis are still ill.
So what ultimately is needed then is a new kidney.
That's right. Transplantation is clearly the therapy of choice for people with renal failure, with kidney failure.
All right, now we heard Peter talking about how he had received a kidney from a sister and a brother.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of us have that opportunity in life to be able to receive a kidney from another human being who is living. What is the other way we can receive kidneys?
Yeah, the other way is through what's called cadaver transplantation. People who have died in automobile accidents, usually, whose families are gracious enough to donate their organs. Those organs, and in the case of a person who dies, there's 2 kidneys, are donated, and 2 people who are on dialysis can receive 1 kidney apiece. Transplanted kidneys work from cadaver sources work very well. The new medications that are used to suppress rejection, and rejection is the body's ability to reject the new kidney. There are medications to suppress that. New medications are excellent, and the chances for success with a cadaver transplanted kidney are very high.
I know in Massachusetts, when we renew our driver's licenses, we're able to indicate our desire to be organ donors. As a matter of fact, a little sticker is attached to the driver's license, and we carry, along with that license, a small affidavit signed by a couple of witnesses that we have indeed made that declaration and decided on doing that. Is that possible in Rhode Island?
I believe that is possible in Rhode Island. I live in Massachusetts also, and I have the same sticker on my license.
All right, so
And I think
silver sticker.
I think it's a very important thing for people to realize. You know, this country is very different than other countries. For instance, in France, donation is required by law, and the only way you can get out of donating is to specifically request that. So this country is unusual. The need for organ donation in this country is enormous.
Not just kidneys, but we're also talking about eyes, lungs,
livers,
heart transplants,
That's right.
and so on. And age, how big a factor is age?
Well, I think that most people, most kidney doctors, nephrologists, would look at a person over the age of 55, 60, and start thinking about not transplanting that person because the risk of heart disease and the risk of vascular disease becomes quite high, and the prognosis for those people with transplantation is less good. But that does not mean that a healthy 65 or 70-year-old person would not get transplanted. I have transplanted people that old, and they've done very well. But age is a partial restriction. I wouldn't say it's a total.
All right, how about with regard to being a donor?
Donor varies anywhere from early childhood up to approximately 55, 60. Again, exceptions are always true If someone who is 65 has been very healthy and dies in an automobile accident and their kidneys appear to be good at the time of that death, they may be what is called euphemistically harvested and transplanted into patients who are awaiting transplantation. So age is a limiting factor. Obviously, you'd like to have kidneys that come from people in their 20s and 30s, which you would expect to be completely normal.
All right. Now, Peter, another reason why you did the Mount Washington thing, and that's the best way I can describe it, that thing of yours, you also did it for the purpose of raising some money for the Kidney Foundation. The Kidney Foundation does not operate in a vacuum. There are millions of people out there with their hand out saying, hey, we need money, and so on and so forth. You did it to call attention to what you consider to be a life and death cause for you, and certainly it was. What is it that you were looking for people to do from a money standpoint?
Actually, the money standpoint was a secondary. The primary, you cannot put a price on the person who listens to this radio show today or reads the article in the paper and decides to actually go out and physically put that sticker on their license, and God forbid that they happen to get in an accident, that kidney or those kidneys or organs go to other people. I cannot put a price on that at all. If one person out there does that, then I would climb Mount Washington every day of the week. The money that is brought in from this is incidental compared to that. And I really appeal to the people who have come to terms with themselves that they feel that organ donation is a good thing and have not actually gone out and done the physical act of putting a sticker or carrying an organ donor card.
So I take it to mean that Rhode Island does exactly the same thing.
Yes, they do.
I would like to reiterate what Peter said, that when young people die in automobile accidents and such a travesty occurs to a family, this is one wonderful, great thing that can come out of a terrible, terrible thing. And for two people to receive kidneys, and for a person to receive a liver, or a person to receive an eye, those are wonderful things to come out of a terrible experience. And I think people should realize that some good can come out of terrible situations.
So what you would ask people in our audience to do would be twofold then. Number one, they themselves become organ donors by simply, when they renew their driver's license, asking to be so designated and to follow the legal procedure within your own state. And number two, for people maybe to talk to their children about becoming organ donors. Younger people don't tend to listen to talk shows, 18, 20, 22. No, that's reality. I know. I do know my business. You know your kidneys. I know my listeners. So what we have to do is rely on the people who are listening now, who have children, who are drivers, and so on, and maybe explain to them the good reasons why this should be done, and ask them to volunteer to become organ donors. And it's not a difficult process. I can speak for myself here. Very simply, you simply say, I want to be an organ donor when you're renewing your license, and they'll affix that sticker to your license, your new license, and as I said, give you that small affidavit or a will. I'm not sure exactly what they call it. Testament, is it? Something like that. And I think in most states, and I knew more about this than I was letting on when I asked the question initially. In most states, they require a couple of witness signatures to your signature. And from that point on, you're an organ donor, and God bless you, should something happen to you, particularly in the form of an accident, your remaining body parts that are still in good shape would probably go on to outlive you and go on and do a good thing for someone else.
Do a wonderful thing. It's more than a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. As Peter can attest, it is truly a rebirth.
Yep.
To be transplanted.
And talk about the ultimate renewal.
Yes.
I mean, that's essentially what it boils down to. So I personally would highly recommend it. When I saw the article, I had a gut feeling I knew where this whole thing was heading. And also, I have no problem with making an appeal for money for your organization as well. That was certainly a secondary phase of it, but nevertheless an important phase, because without donations from the public, the Kidney Foundation does not exist.
Yes, we have actually some very interesting projects. We're a relatively new organization, and we have recently started a grants program to patients, kidney failure patients, who can't get money for specific purposes through social workers. We've started that program over the past year, We have an ongoing counseling service through our executive director, Bill Malloy, who is well known to most kidney patients in this state, and is a kidney patient himself. And we have educational programs both for the lay public and for doctors in terms of kidney disease. And we'll hope to embark on kidney research in the coming years. So we have a very aggressive program that we're trying to develop, and it is specifically for the people of the state of Rhode Island.
All right. Now, how can people get in touch with the Kidney Foundation?
Well, the Kidney Foundation's address is 1663
1663
Cranston Street
Cranston Street.
in Cranston, and the zip is 02920.
02920. That's
And we
one.
have-
That's 1663 Cranston Street, Cranston, Rhode Island, 02920.
And we have, our telephone number is 944
Mm-hmm.
7272.
7272.
And as it turns out, we are having a Kidney Foundation dance on May 16th at the Rocky Point Palladium, which is the proceeds of that dance will go towards the projects that we're proposing for the people of Rhode Island.
Fantastic.
Grants, education programs, transportation. We have a rather aggressive agenda we hope to provide.
Well, you've also got a rather aggressive patient here in Peter. Peter, by the way, just one final question. Do you ever intend to go up Mount Washington again on foot?
Yes, I do. I won't drive up in a car, but I will go up on foot. Yes, I will.
Let me recommend going by the head wall at Tuckerman's Ravine.
I think I might try that next
I'm
time.
just serious. Do it in the summertime, however. It's
Tougher in the winter.
it's rather difficult in the winter, but it's also a very nice way to go, and you get some of the more spectacular views from the mountain as you break over the tree line.
Well, I appreciate the tip, and I'll think
For what
about
it's worth, $1.50 will get you a rotten cup of coffee. All right. Well, Peter, congratulations to you. Best of luck, and you decide to do Mount Washington again, and you see me up there, wave to me, will you?
Okay, thanks a lot.
And Dr. Yoburn, thank you very much for being with us. And again, the address for the Kidney Foundation is 1660